Om. 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 Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam, Trailokyam Sacharacharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bhagawan Ramana Maharshi is a master of the path of inquiry. Vedanta is the science of inquiry. Whatever we do mechanically, very often without even thinking. Action, as long as we live, is inevitable. Therefore, when we do our actions, do we inquire for what do we do our actions? In the very first verse, Bhagavan points out that how can action be independent in giving the result? For action itself is dependent on many factors to give the results. And when action itself is done in limited period of time with limited capacity and itself being inert, it does not directly, completely determine the result of actions. The result of actions are determined by the laws of universe, many, many factors. And if there is a law, there is a lawmaker. And if the law is functioning, there is a law governor. And therefore, it is by the grace, the wisdom, the love, according to the laws of nature, that we get the result of our actions. To the best of our knowledge, we can do our actions, but the result does not come by our mere wishful thinking or expectations. And therefore, in the beginning itself, it must be clear that the result comes through the grace, through the law of the Lord, not by our expectations and our wishes. But when we act out of a fixed expectation for the result, and when the result comes, we are either elated or we are disappointed. Both of them, our reactions, create in our mind an impression in the form of a vasana, which we can easily see manifest as our certain preferences, likes and dislikes. And therefore, Bhagavan says that as such, when we act with the attachment to the fixed results, it actually becomes a means to get into the cycle of action, reaction, and it is like a Mahaudadi, like a mighty ocean, vast, limitless, because we act for a limited result, but the bondage that it creates seems to be almost permanent. And therefore, it becomes a means to fall into this compulsion of action. And then we are not free to act. We are compelled to act. And act in a particular manner according to our past impressions, which are called as vasanas, that go to build our temperament, our moods, our behavior patterns. Just to give you an example, sometimes you have not eaten a particular dish, you don't even know about it, you don't even think about it, you don't crave for it, you don't desire it. It had happened with me once. As new trends start in different parts of the world, new cuisines come in. Once when I was conducting a youth camp, and there, whatever food was served, the youth got very enthusiastic and said, today we will cook, we'll do the seva of cooking. And Swamiji, can we have something different? I said, whatever you know to cook, you cook for everybody. Will you also eat? I said, okay, I will eat. And very excited, they said, Swamiji, we are going to make something special, something different. So I said, first of all, I don't know whether you all can cook properly, and I don't know what different are you going to make. So first tell me, what are you going to make? They said, Swamiji, it will be vegetarian only. So I said, fine, but what? They said, Swamiji, we'll keep it as a secret, a surprise. I said, what? And then they said, Swamiji, we are going to make you nachos. I said, what? Is it some dance that you're going to do? Because in Indian language, you know, nacho means to dance. So they said, no, Swamiji, this is nachos. At that time, I had not heard what is nacho. I was not interested in nacho. But now that I said, yes, I will eat it, there was so much excitement and the word spread. Thank God social media was not that common. Otherwise, it would be message round the world that Swamiji is going to eat nachos. I kept on hearing about nacho, those couple of days. And everybody's excited, Swamiji will eat nachos. Anyway, everybody was served. But they said, we will serve you special, Swamiji, hot. I said, fine. And then they brought for me a tray full of what they called as nacho. There were pokey little triangular edges. I don't want to describe when I looked at it. Some oozing things on it. And they said, Swamiji, this is delicious. Anyway, they had made it. I did my Brahmarpanam and I put it in my mouth. Just when I put it in my mouth, it was so hot. And they said, Swamiji, wait. But by the time I crushed it in my mouth, it burnt my palate, it poked my palate. And I said, this is the type of food these youngsters are nowadays eating? No wonder they are what they are. Dancing from here to there, you know. Meanwhile, by the time that crispy nachos were crushed in my mouth, not bad. And just when I had tasted it, it was not bad. Meanwhile, All the youngsters dug into that tray and ate it up. Nobody even asked me whether I wanted more. But in my mind was, it's yummy. And the mind wanted more. Meanwhile, they went and said, Swamiji, don't worry, we've got another tray. And this time when they brought the tray, I took a number of them in my plate and ate it. Nowadays, whenever we have a youth camp, that impression of that nacho that we all enjoyed, and that too also the first nacho which you liked, you want that taste only. And the mind, whenever it remembers, the mind goes, nacho, 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 nacho. This is called as a vasana that manifests itself as a desire to get a particular result for which we do various actions, but at the end of it, we want that result. If it is according to our expectation, we want more of it. And if it is not, we are disappointed. These all impressions make us act, react, and we remain in this cycle of action and reaction. This is called as karma bandhan, the ocean of action, that never are we at peace with ourselves, contented. Then how do we act? Because we cannot be without action. In the third verse, Bhagawan Ramana Maharshi, after having given a proper logical explanation and inquiry into the nature of action, points out the means, which of course in Bhagavad Gita has been elaborately explained. And in our just previous talks, we have explained elaborately, but Ramana Maharshi summarizes it in one verse, and he says, Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Bhagavan points out the means. Ishvara arpitam, and we have to understand karma, actions dedicating to Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, from whom we have got all our capacities, abilities to act, the intelligence, the ability to act. And therefore, he is called as Karmadhyaksha, one who governs all the actions, and from whom we get all the result. That Kartu, from whom we get all the results, that Karta. So, Ishwararpitam, since we have got everything from the Lord, Ishvara Arpitam, we do our actions as a love offering to the Lord, surrendering to the Lord. And also when we mean surrender, since the capacity to act is by the Lord, we also surrender the fruits of action to the Lord. Therefore, na ichchaya kritam. The action not done with ichcha or desire. Desire is a technical term, and we act out of our sense of want of something. Now, if there is no want, many of us will think, why even act? Now, wants are also of many types. There are selfish desires. There are desire for the welfare of others. When we say na ichchaya kritam, how can you do, or why will you do any action without a desire? In fact, I will not move from this side of the chair to this side of the chair until unless I am uncomfortable and I desire more comfort. So we do our actions for a certain desire. And even if we desire, there is nothing wrong in desiring and planning and thinking what goal or result I want to achieve. But when we have the knowledge that the result does not come by my wishes, but according to the action that I do, but governed by many, many factors, I can just do my action to the best of my capacity. But do not get fixated to a certain limited result. If I want a nacho also, I want it the way I had tasted the first time that I ate. You want the cup of tea the way your mother or maybe your spouse makes it for you. When we have that fixed result in our mind, we don't benefit from what other results we get from it, but in fact we react and either get disappointed, or if it is the way we want it, we get further attached. And that puts us back in the cycle of action and reaction. So this is called as that when you act even if you have got a desire, but not fixated on a particular result. Otherwise, we react and fall into this vast ocean of action and reaction, which is called as bondage. Then we are not even free to act. In fact, we are only continuing our reactions. Then how do we act? When we surrender our actions to the wisdom of the Lord, then whatever results come to us is just. In fact, the lawmaker, the lover of the universe, the Lord of the universe has made these laws so that we get the just results. So whatever the result comes is His gift to us. Mother Nature's gift to us. And when we accept it, then there is no reaction. Now, when there is no reaction and there is acceptance, not only at that moment, whatever result comes, you benefit from it, but you don't leave an impression, a like, a dislike, a desire to repeat that action again. And therefore, Chitta Shodhakam, it helps you to purify your mind. And this word purify, that our existing desires, our existing likes and dislikes, our existing vasanas, impressions, they get an expression. They don't remain suppressed when we do actions with an attitude of dedication to the Lord, it does not remain suppressed in us. We fulfill the action, but we do not create more vasanas, more impressions, more likes and dislikes, and therefore more desires which compel us into actions. And therefore, it helps to purgate, detoxify what is lying in our mind because of which we react. So, chitta shodhakam. And when we are free of these vasanas, these likes and dislikes, our mind becomes, when we say pure, it becomes calm. And we have heard many times that a calm mind, a peaceful mind, is a cheerful and happy mind. The true result that we look for in an action, in the result that we want, is this peace and happiness. And therefore, mukti sadhakam, it becomes a means for our freedom, our liberation. It becomes an aid to it. So, this which is called as Karma Yoga or an intelligent way of action, Buddhi Yoga, in the Bhagavad Gita and our various scriptures, here Bhagwan Shivji has said it, and it is being summarized by Bhagawan Ramana Maharshi. So, Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. If we go deeper, whenever we forget from whom we have received our energy, our power, our ability to act, and from whom we get the fruits of our action, then is born our ego that I can do and get what I want, the way I want. And therefore we get attached to the result. And therefore here the word na ichchaya kritam, not attached to that fixed result. And when we get attached to the result, we want the result the way we want it to be. And for that, then there is anxieties, worries. And when the result comes, most often we are disappointed. All these leaves a sense of frustration or greed in our mind for more. Therefore, when we do our action with the remembrance that whatever we have, whatever we get, is from the wisdom of the Lord, the loving grace of the Lord. And at the same time, since we have received everything from the Lord, when we work in the spirit of yajna, in the spirit of worship, in the spirit of gratitude, and we are ready to do the action as a duty, as a love offering, then in duty, as a love offering, there is no insistence on what I will get out of it. And therefore, there is no attachment to the result. And we do the action in a manner that will be honorable to offer to the Lord from whom I have received everything. So it is not that every action we do only with selfish desire. That action, when it is done as a love offering, dedicating to the Lord, then what we get out of that is, we say, what will I get then? we get the peace of mind. We have the elimination or the catharsis of our vasanas, likes, dislikes, and therefore we are then free, not compelled, even to act and do actions for noble causes and do action for our spiritual development and do actions out of gratitude to the Lord as a worship. And that becomes a means of liberation. In fact, many a times we are taught this. We have heard it. Shri Krishna has emphasized on it. In fact, even higher knowledge nor meditation is possible without this purity, this calmness, this freedom of the mind, which is relative, of course, at this moment, not the final mukti, but becomes the stepping stone, or such a mind then becomes a meditative mind. And such a meditative mind, when from the Guru listens and gains this knowledge, directly discovers the infinite. I remember once, many, many years ago, just after I had graduated from our Sandeepany Sadhanalaya, where we have our Vedanta course, and as a brahmachari, I was still in India and going from one place to the other, catching a bus with just a rupee or two in my pocket. And one day, after giving a morning session on the Upanishads for a small group of people, I had to go for another session later on in the day. And I was walking towards the bus stop, and there on the way, I smelled some nice ghee, means clarified butter, sweets. And there was a sweet shop, a mithai shop, where this person was frying hot jalebi. Of course, I thought in my mind, I will not get breakfast till much late. I'm hungry, but I've got only 2 rupees in my pocket to catch the bus. So I said, I will buy some sweets. And since there's time, I'll work it out and I will walk to that place. So I went to this sweet shop and asked, and when I first saw the different varieties of sweets, I said I should get the best. But when I asked the price, it was far more than what I could afford it to be. So I bargained, but it was 100 rupees a kilo. How much could I buy for 2 rupees? Finally coming to the ordinary peda. Why I say ordinary? Because half of it they put flour, not milk. The peda, and that too also he was charging 30 rupees. I was not bargaining because of being cheap, but I had only 2 rupees. Even if I bought 10 grams, 100 grams, I could only pay 2 rupees. So finally I bargained it for 20 rupees a kilo. And then I told him, give me 100 grams. He gave me a dirty look. Early in the morning, first customer should never send him off. So he gave me in a dirty piece of newspaper. And that too also, when he was weighing 100 grams, he was taking off half the peda. I was getting upset and angry that what are you selling? Gold? You put that peda inside, that half peda also. And then, you're so expensive. All that frustration. Finally, he wrapped and he gave me that peda. And as I was walking on the way, trying to find a quiet spot where I can go and eat, I saw at a distance a temple. I climbed up to this temple, went there, and as I entered and saw the beautiful Vigraha, the image of the Lord, and my mind went to the ashram, how peacefully we used to sit there, chanting, singing, worshipping. As I went there was the priest, the Pandit there, and he saw that I had offering in my hand. So he thought that I brought the offering there, and I had nothing else but those pedas. So I offered it to him to offer it to the Lord. And while I stood there with devotion, my mind calm, that time, how much peda he took out and he kept it aside. And with his dirty hands, he put, I say dirty hands, all coconut water, etc. in his hand, and he gave me the peda. I didn't see that very same peda, how much peda was left. In fact, there were 2-3 people around. I gave them prasad, and I took it as prasad, not even worrying about whether it had kesar in it, saffron in it, all that which I was arguing with that seller for which I was paying. Now, as an offering and receiving it as prasad, there was acceptance. And when you eat with that acceptance, there is such a sense of peace and joy and satisfaction that there was no craving for more. When this attitude we work with, offering our actions to the Lord as a worship and receiving the result as prasad, there is peace. And in that, our desires get fulfilled. But we do not have the agitations that comes when there is attachment to the fruit of action. And therefore, it becomes a means for a contemplative mind to gain knowledge. Therefore, mukti sadhakam. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.